Hi everyone, welcome back to Asian Movie Recaps. Today we will recap another intriguing movie. In the meantime, please like and subscribe to our channel. That way, we can continue to provide you with plot twists and interesting stories in our movie summaries. It may only take a few seconds, but it allows us to upload our daily video as soon as possible. Let's start. A journalist revisits the unsolved gruesome murder of a seemingly perfect family when it is close to 1-year anniversary of the murder. He interviews the people who knew the victims and uncovers uncomfortable truths about the individuals involved. The film opens inside a public bus where a young man is forced by a fellow passenger to give up his seat to accommodate an elderly woman. He agrees and gets up to do so. As he stands, he walks with a limp and falls to the ground. The bus stops and he gets off with a limp. The passenger who made him leave his seat looks pained and guilty. However, as soon as the bus moved, the young man Tanaka began to walk properly. It was only for show. He is visiting his younger sister, Mitsuko, in prison. Mitsuko was arrested for neglecting her daughter who remains in intensive care dangerously underweight from starvation. He is with her lawyer, Miss Tochibana. She says it's been 6 months already and that he shouldn't have come as she'll soon be out. She looks to the lawyer for confirmation and she gives an unsure nod. He says he bought her some clothes and asks if she needs anything else. She doesn't respond but asks how Chihiro, her 3-year-old daughter, is doing. The lawyer responds that she is doing well and the doctor says she is recovering well. She turns to Tanaka and tells him that her girl didn't eat much. She complains that the police are mean to her for being a bad mother. The lawyer interrupts her and reminds her of their promise. She says all right, she shouldn't talk now. She leans toward Tanaka and tells him that she loves secrets. After the visit, Tanaka and lawyer Tochibana are outside the police station. She tells Tanaka that she thought his call was for advice on his article and he admits that she was the only one he could call. Tanaka says he's glad to hear that Chihiro is okay. Tochibana says that when she was found, she had the weight of a 1-year-old kid. She says Chihiro is still unconscious and even if she wakes up, her brain will remain damaged. She tells him that Mitsuko will be charged and tried. She says that the prosecutors are keeping her longer than usual. Tanaka asks if anything can be done and she says yes, they could do a psychiatric test. She asks if he doesn't think that Mitsuko seems strange. She says Mitsuko has no feeling of responsibility. She acts as if the incident happened to someone else. She also asks if Mitsuko went through the same thing as Chihiro when she was a child. If she was, she says if that's the case, they can apply for a psychiatrist test. At work, Tanaka decides to dig into the Taku family murder. Takana is told to do the insurance murder in Nagoya instead, but he declined. He is told the case is a dead one. Tanaka says he'll talk to people who are connected to the dead. He feels they'll have something to say after a year. His boss gives him the go-ahead. When Tanaka leaves, the boss is asked why he approved that and he simply says that he has his reasons. He says Tanaka needs something to take his mind off his younger sister. Tanaka takes a stroll to the house where the murder occurred. Tanaka meets up with Watanabe, a former friend of Taku, the father and husband in the Taku family murder. He takes him to a place where he claims he used to drink with Taku. He says he can't believe Taku died, especially that he was murdered and not killed by an accident or an illness. Tanaka asks how long he has known Taku and he answers that it's been since the company entrance exam. He says they both graduated from Inada University so he's known him for 15 years. He says Taku was the closest one to him among the classmates he graduated with. He says guys who enter their company want to develop and create new towns and it was the same as them. However, Taku was assigned to sales while he was assigned to accounting. Watanabe claims he and the others were pissed off a bit. He says 2 losers were griping about their careers. Since Taku was in sales, he had to deal with customers. Some of them were difficult so he had a hard time. He had lost weight, couldn't eat, and was almost neurotic. He adds that the company personnel section selected girls as wives for the company workers. Taku meets a girl at one of such company dinners. A flashback scene shows Taku at work with Watanabe. During a conversation, he asks if Watanabe remembered the girl from the last welcome party. Watanabe asks if she is the one he slept with and Taku is shocked and questions how he knew. Watanabe tells him it was pretty obvious to everyone because they disappeared at the party. The lady is seated in a bar when her phone chimes. She picks it up and it is a text from Taku telling her he can't make it because of work. Just as she reads the text, Watanabe walks in and acts shocked to see her. He greets and sits with her. They start talking about their failing relationships while drinking. After seeing her home, Watanabe kisses her and apologizes. She tells him not to and kisses him back, and they head up to her apartment. Watanabe tells Taku that he met up with the girl 1 or 2 times and then had to land the final blow. He meets her and asks if Taku is her boyfriend. He told her that Taku reacted awkwardly after he talked about her. She answers and says Taku is not her boyfriend, and Watanabe gets angry at that. He says it is insulting to Taku and tells her to sort things out with Taku. Taku and Watanabe meet for drinks, and Taku admits that he loved her and could have had a relationship with her. They both laugh over this. Tanaka ponders over this as he leaves to go home. Mitsuko is in a doctor's office. She sees a toy on the table and touches it. She says she always wanted that type of toy, and the doctor asks if she got it. She says she never got any toys. She was always hungry. Their mother never cooked, and it was her brother, Tanaka, who cooked. She says she'd be dead if it weren't for Tanaka. She says if she had to pick, she'd come back to this world again as Tanaka's younger sister. Meanwhile, Tanaka is meeting another friend of the couple, Ms. Miyamura, at her coffee shop. She says she's a graduate of Bennu University. She says most people say she's not the Bennu type, and most people know how to avoid unnecessary efforts. She says that's why Natsuhara married an elite. Takana admits that not many graduates from that school live like her. Miyamura says that looks, possession, and family origins matter a lot in school. Looking back, she says Natsuhara's beauty and presence were exceptional. A flashback takes them back to the school premises where she meets a girl named Nakayama. She sees a group of people seated together and laughing. She wonders if people make friends that quickly. Nakayama tells her that those kids are the insiders, graduates of Bunnu High. Miyamura tells Watanabe that Natsuhara was the first outsider to get promoted to an insider, and she became a kind of hope to other outsiders, a bridge to the insider world. She says Natsuhara was sly and frightening. Watanabe asks if she hates Natsuhara, but she declines. He asked why she approached Natsuhara if she felt that way, but she said it was the reverse. Natsuhara approached her to ask how she learned to speak the English language and invited her to eat with her. Miyamura meets her boyfriend, Ogata, when she goes out to eat with them. She tells him afterward to stop acting so cozy to Natsuhara, and he says that Natsuhara doesn't know they are dating. Takana meets up with a different friend, Ogata, who tells him that Miyamura truly hated Natsuhara. She got jealous and started to compete. He says Miyamura was vain, but Natsuhara was different. Miyamura told Tanaka that Natsuhara wanted to be more like her, but Ogata disagreed. He says it was Miyamura who wanted to be like Natsuhara. Ogata admits he started seeing Natsuhara and then broke up with Miyamura over the phone. He claims he had no regrets about doing that. Miyamura insists she didn't hate her despite hitting Natsuhara at a party. She thought it was typical of her to get murdered like that. She felt it shouldn't be surprising that a lot of people had grudges against her. While working late at night, Tanaka gets a mystery call from someone who claims he has his story wrong. The caller says she knows Taku best in the whole world and he isn't the man people think he is. She claims she knows who killed Taku. He sets out the next morning to meet the mystery caller, Inamura, and she tells him that she has been out of the country. She says Japan is a hierarchical country and that Taku must have known it. Taku had called her and told her he wanted to work in the trading firm and asked her to introduce him to her father. She said her father would have considered if he was her boyfriend, but she already had one. She leaned forward and asked if he would like to be her second boyfriend. The next scene shows them in a bedroom just before they have sex. Takana asks her why she chose to stay with Taku, and she said she still loved him. Inamura finds out that Taku has another girlfriend, Kokiuchi, and she goes to meet her. She tells her that Taku is using them both for his benefit. Inamura asks Kokiuchi if she introduced him to her father, and she says yes. Taku comes around and asks what Inamura told her. She responds that she told Kokiuchi that he is using her because her father is a company president. He admits that he is doing that, but he also likes her. He says he's at a time in his life where whatever move he makes will have a high impact on his future. Inamura asks Taku if he would still love Kokiuchi if her dad wasn't the company president, and he answers that he might. Inamura tries to show Kokiuchi the kind of man that Taku is, but Kokiuchi says she just loves him. Inamura asks Taku what they are to him, and he says that one of them could have been with him in the future if the confrontation hadn't happened. Kokiuchi bursts into tears and runs off. Inamura says she was pissed off at first, but after watching Kokiuchi run off like that, she calmed down. She says Taku didn't take the job with the girl's father, rather got a job on his own. Takana asks if she thinks Kokyuchi killed Taku, but Inamura says no. The killer realized that they were all empty containers who couldn't fill themselves on their own. She believes that information broke the perpetrator. Tanaka meets with lawyer Tochibana. She has questions about Mitsuko. Tanaka answers her questions about his divorced parents. He hasn't seen his mother or her new husband for a long time since she and his dad got divorced 18 years ago. He also doesn't know the whereabouts of his dad. He says he doesn't want to know. She says she heard from Mitsuko that he was also abused by his dad. Mitsuko tells her doctor that her mother was 16 years old when she gave birth to her brother, Tanaka. She says she was a child who gave birth to a child, so she couldn't raise one properly. Tanaka tells lawyer Tochibana that when he was 15, at the time when Mitsuko was to enter junior high, he noticed something was wrong. He knew about sex, but he never thought it could happen between his father and his sister. He became sure of that right after he entered high school. Mitsuko tells the doctor that it started when she was 9 years old. It started as a child's play. When he was drunk, he would touch her, then one day he buried his head in her stomach and ripped open her shirt, which sent buttons flying. His eyes are glassy, he stares and doesn't blink. She's asked if no one in her family noticed, and she says Tanaka probably noticed, but perhaps he was scared because he was always beaten. But when he was in high school, he finally paid back. Tanaka narrates that it was around midnight. He heard his sister crying. It was the first time that way. He completely lost it and found himself on top of his father on his sister's bed. Tanaka beat his father to a pulp. The doctor asks Mitsuko when her mother noticed the abuse. She says it was the next day after her father left the house. She cried and told her everything. Mitsuko's mother accuses her of seducing her father and hits her. But when her dad left, he aged overnight. She said she almost felt sorry for him. Tanaka is asked who fathered Mitsuko's child, but he doesn't know, as Mitsuko never said anything. Lawyer Tochibana says she found no trace of the father among Mitsuko's belongings. Tanaka receives a call from Miyamura, who says she remembered someone who was ruined by Natsuhara and might hold a grudge. A flashback shows Mitsuko and Natsuhara as they run into a theater only to find it empty. They begin to panic until they realize the program is the next day. They sit down and laugh and take. Mitsuko says she picked Binu University because of its prestige. She was on the brink and didn't want any regrets, so she swore to do everything. She didn't stand a chance because of her family background. She saw and admired Natsuhara. Then Natsuhara invited her out to dinner. They started hanging out. Miyamura tells Tanaka that Mitsuko's misfortune was her good looks. She says Natsuhara introduced Mitsuko to the insiders. Ordinarily, the insiders would never mate with someone with Mitsuko's family background. She says Mitsuko was too ambitious and Natsuhara knew it and used it. She mentions that she heard Mitsuko was arrested for child neglect and it may have been Natsuhara who planted the seed. She says if she were Mitsuko, she'd go and kill Natsuhara. Tanaka is out of wine. She goes to refill his glass. As she stands at the counter, Tanaka comes up behind her and hits her on the head with a statue from the table. He bends and continuously bashes her head with the statue, killing her. This leaves him covered in blood. He receives a call at work the next day and rushes to the hospital. A body is being wheeled out with lawyer Tochibana close behind. There are tears in her eyes. Mitsuko says she always wanted a baby. She had a dream to live happily with a man and a baby that looked like him. It was a dream anyone could fulfill, but that girl wouldn't smile at her. She wanted to hug her, but she couldn't move. Then she saw Natsuhara, but she ignored her. She followed her home and stood outside watching her perfect family. She finally realized she could never be like her. She says she tried to hold on, coping with reality, but everything collapsed at once inside her. The crash was audible in her head. She was done for. She says she wanted to ring the front door, but the back door was open, so it was convenient. She found a knife. She stabbed Natsuhara's husband Taku and went upstairs, where Natsuhara and her daughter were about to go to bed. Natsuhara was in shock seeing Mitsuko covered in blood, so it was easy to sink the knife into her belly, her daughter under her. The doctor walks in and Mitsuko stops talking. She had been talking to herself. He asks who she is talking to and she responds by asking if he is done with his call. He tells her that the phone call was for him to inform her that Chihiro passed away that morning. She is quiet for a while and then she chuckles and walks and stands at the window. Lawyer Tochibana goes to see Mitsuko's mother. She tells her that Mitsuko was lucky to have a brother. If not, she would have met the same fate as Chihiro. Mitsuko's mother says she could not repeat the same mistake. She didn't want to destroy the happiness she had found. Lawyer Tochibana asks why she couldn't help Mitsuko when she was pregnant. Her mother replies that Mitsuko only asked if she knew where she could deliver her baby in secret. All Mitsuko wanted was a healthy baby, no matter the fate the child was born into. Tochibana asked how Mitsuko could have wanted that for the child her father forcefully impregnated her with. Her mother looks shocked and tells the lawyer that she is mistaken. She asks who the father is, but she doesn't reply. The screen changes to a scene between Mitsuko and Takana. Mitsuko says she loves secrets with him. She apologizes to Tanaka and tells him that he is the only one she loves from her heart. The movie ends with Tanaka on a bus once again. A pregnant woman is standing beside him. He gets up and offers his seat to her. What do you think about this movie? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Subscribe and turn on daily upload notifications. See you in the next video. Thank you for your support.